we have shown that the Black vote is truly powerful. And more than the Black vote, racial justice is truly powerful. I want to be very clear that racial justice is a driver for the type of change that this country desperately needs. And when I talk about racial justice, I am not simply talking about fighting racism, which is absolutely important. I'm talking about racial justice as a strategic driver to getting people activated, to getting people involved, to turning people out to fight for a better tomorrow, both Black folks and folks of every race. Black people may not be the majority in this country, but racial justice is a majoritarian issue. And we have to claim that as we move forward to demand and fight for the issues, fight for the change that our people deserve. You know, during this summer, at the height of the pandemic, I live in New York City and I was stuck in my apartment and all I could hear was sirens outside. I could hear the sort of sirens. Was hearing the stories of pain and death. I was even seeing the sort of signs by the elevators of people in my own building that had lost their lives. So many people lost so much. And during that time of COVID, many people thought the best we could do in terms of activism was going outside, out our windows, off our balconies, and in cities around the country, cheer for the essential workers, many Black and brown, overwhelmingly Black and brown, who helped us get through this moment. I say all of that to say that we thought that that was the best activism that could be done. That was the most we could do. That in uplifting some of the great investigative journalism on COVID-19 and on Trump's role in allowing this pandemic to decimate so many of our communities. But it was racial justice that disrupted that. It was racial justice that actually drove people to the streets, drove people to activism, got people involved and motivated to take steps to raise their voice to fight for a better tomorrow. That was the power, and that is the power of racial justice. And so as we move forward, I don't want any of us to put aside racial justice, because if we put aside racial justice, we are benching our best player in the fight to not only win on criminal justice, to not only win an economy and a healthcare system that we deserve, but also to protect our planet and so many of the other issues that animate our fight for a better tomorrow. And also, as we work, we have to recognize that elections are only part of our efforts. I oftentimes talk about elections in an exercise metaphor, and I kind of do it because COVID-19 has kept me out of the gym more than I probably need to be, and probably kept me with a lot more carbs than I should have. But I talk about exercise I talk about voting in an exercise metaphor, because voting is sort of the stretching of civic engagement. And stretching alone may not help you reach all of your goals. But if you don't stretch, you're going to hurt later. And boy, did we as a community stretch. We stretched and we stretched and we got ourselves ready for what I believe will be the fight ahead, the work ahead, the effort ahead that we have to put in to translating this moment into our ability to actually win on the things we want. I talk about is translating presence for power, but also as the news media begins to tell the story of this election, we should not mistake presence for power. Visibility and awareness for retweets or shout outs from the stage, conversations that make us think we've gotten someplace that we haven't actually gotten to yet, but we have the ability to if we keep our eye on the prize. When we mistake presence for power, we can sometimes think that we've done something that we haven't done. We mistake a Black president in the past for thinking we were post-racial, and that didn't actually happen. We can mistake having a whole lot of Black celebrities that people celebrate for thinking that America loves Black people as much as America loves Black culture. And America can love, celebrate, and monetize Black culture and hate Black people at the same time. And those two things don't have to be in conflict. So part of what I am inviting us all into is the work ahead. You know, President Obama was a change candidate, and Donald Trump was a change the rules candidate. And changing the rules is sort of a different archetype, right? We may have disagreed with the policies of previous housing and urban development or previous education secretaries. We may have disagreed with their politics, but at least we knew that they knew something about housing and urban development or knew something about education. Under Donald Trump, so many of those conventions change. But it also gives us a focus on what we actually have to do, not to go back to something before, but to fight for something new. And so, unlike a change candidate and a change the rules candidate, I'm going to be honest with you all. Joe Biden ran as a restoration candidate, a candidate to restore us back to something before. And that's going to mean that we will need powerful Black-led infrastructure to say that we don't want to go back, we only want to go forward. That we're not trying to restore a good old days, but we are trying to fight for a better tomorrow. That there was not a good old days in the economy, there was not a good old days on criminal justice, there was not a good old days on any of those issues. This is an opportunity to win so much more. But in order to win, we have to be aligned. We have to figure out how we're going to work together. And we have to then be very clear about the type of leadership that's necessary in order to move us forward.